My name is Scott Brusa. I work in the film industry as a set decorator, set dresser, and I work out of the industry as a set designer, an artist, graphic designer, and I do some computer art too. And I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Can you name some of the TV shows in production that you've worked on?
I've worked on television shows, Friends most notably, for a long time. Uh, Gabriel's Fire, Glee, Castle. Features I've worked on. I've worked on The Doors. I've worked on Nixon. I've worked on The Aviator. I've worked on Terminator. Commercials. I've done all big client commercials. And I've done a lot of local little theater stuff you've never heard of.
Thanks for coming out here
Yeah.
and doing this with us.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it. So now, were you born in Hollywood or did you move
No,
out here?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan.
Now, did you go to film school out in Detroit or?
No, college at a school called Grand Valley University. Got a BFA in sculpture.
Oh wow! So what made you decide to actually move out to Hollywood?
Followed some brothers out, and the creativity in Detroit was a different type that I wasn't after. I was looking to make art in LA. It was between New York and LA, and so I had some friends and brothers out here already. So I decided, hey, we'll go there.
So now your real passion in life would be then to, are you a sculptor or a painter?
Well, the arts, I mean, all forms of arts. If you're art-minded, it can spill over to writing, to dancing, to painting, to sculpting, to filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
Storytelling, all that kind of stuff. But primarily, I've been a visual artist, which has been, I would call myself a master drawer and a good sculptor as well, and probably a master painter as well. I've learned to paint very well. But I've worked in the decoration side of the film industry.
So like set design and
set decoration, basically. Yeah, always involved in set design, but never as a designer. I have on small projects and independent projects for people.
Right.
Theater. I've worked in all aspects, basically theater, feature films, and television and commercials.
So you make all the little background look like it's the background.
Basically, yeah.
Look
Decorate every environment. Every environment you see has been touched by people in my department or myself included, especially if I'm working on set as a visual on-set dresser or assistant decorator.
Now, what is your department?
I always work in I work into a faction of the art department, which is pretty much set dressing, set decorating, and or on-set dressing, which is just the same but being the sole representative for that department with a production company. Pretty much the art department works behind the scenes, and they don't have a lot to do with the daily production of the company. I'm one of those rare people that do both.
Okay.
And so I see how they operate, how it functions.
Wow. So now did you say you find work readily available?
Yeah, when I came out here, there was a lot of work, and I started working. I started painting boats for money, names on the sides of boats, which I was doing in Detroit. And a friend had just stumbled onto swing gang work for an art department on a small film, non-union film, and said, hey, they need some help. Well, I can't make it. Why don't you go? I showed up, worked hard. They loved me. They asked me back the next day, the next day, the next day, and before I know it, I met more people, got on a crew. Was asked by a decorator eventually to be a lead for his department, which means I would assemble all of the sets, the decorations, and run a crew that way. And that's how I found my way into that.
Oh,
that
very
business.
cool. Now, Is there like, are you in a union?
Yes, I'm in Local 44, which is the union for craftspeople in the business. But I worked non-union for a long time because that's how the business operated at that time, was non-union and union.
Okay. Now, did you have to get so many hours and days and whatever to get into the union?
It's a funny catch-22 to get in the union. You you either have to be on a list and wait till every union member is working, and then know someone and get hired on, and now you have an in, and you have to acquire so many days to get in. 30 it used to be. I don't know what it is now. On a union show to be eligible to join the union.
Okay.
However, if during that time period a union guy was out of work, you couldn't work, so you couldn't work on a union film unless you're in the union. You can't get in the union unless you work on a union film.
Right.
Or the other way is you work on a non-union project that the union would like to roll into the union, and they convert it via the producers, and anyone on that show gets automatically put in the union. That's how I got in.
Wow. Now, is there also like a pretty hefty fee to get into the union, or?
Yeah, at the time it seemed hefty to me, but nothing compared to what it is now. I think it's about $3,500 or so to join the union. I think it was about $1,500 when I joined.
Is that a year, or is that?
That's a one-time fee to enjoy. Okay. Then you have union dues, which amount to probably about 100 to 150 a week for our particular union. They vary differently for different unions.
Wow. Okay. Very interesting.
Or not week. I'm sorry. That would be per semester. They call them. There's 4 semesters.
Okay. So okay. Very cool. Now, so sorry, man. I'm trying to think of how we can work this. When you first got your first gig, was it through networking, or were you calling a lot of like jobs, or were you actually just asked to?
I was asked.
You were actually asked to come on. Now, from there, you made a lot of friends, started networking. Correct? Is that?
Yeah, networking happens naturally because every time you turn over a film, it's a whole new group of people. It's like a semester at college. Right. You know these people for a certain amount of time. The semester's over, you meet a whole group of people. That's what's nice. I worked at General Motors before I came out here from Detroit, and you're dealing with the same people for 30, 40 years.
Right.
You know, and you can see the problems that could arise with that if you don't like someone.
Yeah.
The great thing about the movie industry or the film industry or TV industry is that it's just short bursts with people, and for me, I was more able to tolerate extreme personalities because I knew it wasn't going to be forever.
Wow.
And so that was plus.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you work on a lot of features or television?
Started out working a lot of features, got into television for a long while, then did commercials, and all the while tried to dabble in theater, in local public theater and independent theater projects for people, but basically made my bread and butter through the middle years through television.
Okay. Now, was most of that filmed here in Hollywood, or did you have to travel?
Everything was filmed in Hollywood, always
Great.
Hollywood based. Films and features were plentiful at the time, as opposed to now it seems like there is very little, if any, film work in town. It's mostly television, and if you don't know people, if you're not in a clique, you're out of work.
Where do you see that trend taking us in the next 5 years? I mean,
well, for some reason, I fully believe that film work will pick up in Hollywood. Some things have to change. It's very expensive to film in Hollywood. But the reason why people want to film, I worked on the film Aviator, and I was there when we did a great special effect at LA Center Studios with Martin Scorsese, to the point where after the effect was over, he stopped and turned to the crew that applauded the special effects people that created this, and the myriad of talented people that come together saying, this is why we come to Hollywood. We can only film this here. And I believe that. Right. There is a great deal of talented people here that are, you want to get that?
Yeah, hold on a second.
So for that reason, the amount of talent in this town, I think it will come back once certain things are put in order. It's still very expensive and not practical now for film companies to shoot in Hollywood because of the deals that are offered everywhere else.
Right.
Hollywood's got to offer those same deals and or make some other adjustments. It's still, even with tax incentives, people just gouge you with location fees and all these hidden fees, parking, movie company. It's just way too expensive.
Right. And
we know because of the economy, people aren't behaving that way with money anymore. Everyone's tightening down. So unless those changes are made, it won't come back. But for some reason, I feel it will because there's just so much power here, so much talent.
I think things like this are going to make that bring that awareness to this town, because there are a lot of people. I know people personally that have had to leave this town.
It's amazing how the film industry has come to a complete halt, and no one would have ever thought that. There's more movies being made in Detroit, my hometown, or Michigan than there is in California.
Where you moved from.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be nothing but feature shooting everywhere because California and LA offered many different looks. Every different look. That's why they originally came out here. You could make it, winter, summer, desert, meadow, mountains, beaches, and that's still here.
Right.
But it's now not cost effective.
Right.
So they've got to fix that.
It's cheaper to leave all that stuff and go film it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now, say somebody, Canadian Studios called you today and said, "Hey, we got a great 3 shows coming up. I want you to do the whole art design for, or would you be willing to move out to Canada?"
Theoretically speaking, if I was still doing that, which I'm not really interested, I've moved on to other things because I've also experienced a slowdown too with the business, and I've developed another side of my art talent that I've been wanting to.
Wow.
But had I still been doing that, interested in that, I'd have no problem going to Canada probably.
Wow. So what are you doing now?
I moved into digital art, into learning programs that I always wanted to learn: Illustrator, Adobe, Illustrator, Flash, and Photoshop. And I'm working for a company that I'm doing a lot of drawing for them, converting regular drawings into digital drawings because of my ability to draw. And I'm learning the programs at the same time. It's just fascinating. And they do animations as well. I wasn't really interested in animation. I enjoyed them, but not in making them. I made the primitive type in college, but I could see doing it and getting into it. It's very fascinating.
So do you find yourself working out of the business now more on like?
Well, we service the business. A lot of the things we do service the business, and a lot of our connections I've brought to this company. We're supplying art departments with graphics and images and things that they need, and we hope to expand on that kind of stuff. But we don't rely on that. We do a lot of other web design and web stuff that's independent.
So you've had to evolve your creativity to make the work happen for you.
Yes, I didn't really have to. It just naturally has, and I've taken it because I've seen that. I've been in the industry for 20 years, in the set dressing, and particularly the set production part as a set dresser on set, and it's become pretty toxic. It's hard for, I don't want to say older people to do it, now that I'm getting older, but it's just a physically draining job, and they don't curtail their hours. The hours are out of control, so it's become a toxic environment.
How many hours would you say, or an average?
On a TV show, we average our days are average 15-hour days.
Wow.
That's not counting the breakdown you have to do and the prep you got to do and drive homes for some people.
You don't live on set, yeah.
And they're daily, they do this daily, and it's created a very toxic environment for good creative people. Oh. They're forced to work these hours, and their creativity goes, and their health goes, and their home life goes, and it's a problem.
Do you think they are forcing those hours because of the amount of cost it is to film?
It's a problem that's been going on for a while, and that's created this toxic environment. They have to work these hours because the system is set up that producers, to attract investors, present an unrealistic production schedule. Everyone knows how long it takes to make a commercial, a TV show. It's scientific. We know this. We know what it takes to shoot certain pages of dialogue with crashes and all this. Everyone knows this formula. Yet the formula is presented to investors incorrectly for some reason by producers because they're afraid if they told them the truth they wouldn't get the money. They paint a prettier picture.
Right.
So that what happens is now, to hold up their end of it and cover their butts after they've got these investors, they have assistant directors make schedules to fit what they just sold. And these assistant directors know that these schedules are unrealistic, they cannot be met. So yet they follow through, and every day you're faced with either you work these hours to try to achieve this, or you blow off work every day and it piles up at the end and the project runs over that way. The solution is to present the proper picture, that it takes this long, and shoot a sitcom or a film in X amount of days that everyone knows it takes, rather than pretend that you can do it in this.
Right.
That way people will get their rest, they'll be healthier, they'll be more creative, you'll have a less toxic environment.
So you think it's a lot of suits working 8-hour days, controlling the 15-hour guys, or is it?
Well, none of them will tell you they want you to work 15 hours,
right.
These producers.
But they want it done in this amount of time.
But the method is, you can't get the work done in the 12 hours. And they say, for the record, we only want you to work 12 hours. They've got a built-in plan to go and ask on a daily basis for more hours, more money. They know they're going to get it because these people are already invested in. You can't say no. That's how they go about doing it. Rather than having the courage to say, look, we can tell you we'll shoot in 10 days to get your money. It's going to take us 15 days. And you could pretty much hit 15 days, hit your mark, and everyone would be a little happier, a little healthier, but that's out of control right now, especially in television.
Yeah.
Union television shows by big studios are out of control.
Wow.
and they don't seem to care. Nobody wants to change that method. Not to mention, there's another factor. There's so much money in these productions now. There's so many built-in jobs that are unnecessary. It makes everyone's job more difficult, from the art department to the production staff, because you have people that have no business making decisions on things making decisions. And there's more than one. There's many of them, because there's this built-in framework of keeping your job. So they really have no reason to be there, but they have to justify it by sticking their 2 cents in, and it causes everything to run over.
Wow.
And it takes the energy of a project out of it. That's why I prefer to do smaller independent projects with friends and help them out, because the energy is there and you're concise. And it's kind of what I heard about Kubrick. He runs a very small crew because it's not necessary to have 10 guys up in balloons holding lights and this and that.
Right, yeah.
But to get the money to pay all these other people here, because it's a firm that's been built in,
We have to build it up.
it's blown out of control. And that's another problem probably with the business in this town.
It's blown up the budgets.
It's just bloated, yeah, and it's to keep people working when you don't really need that much to get a film
So
done.
they blow up the budgets and then move it out of town to save $1.
Yeah, that's a lot of it, but that blowing up the budget still happens out of town
yeah,
too. What is killing us here are stage costs, location costs, permit fees, all that stuff. Nobody wants to pay those. Nobody can afford to pay those.
Right.
You know, not small features. And people are making films on their own now. They don't need all that equipment. So why go pay Hollywood? So all these people are losing their jobs.
Now, you said you moved out here from Detroit. You came out here to follow your artistic abilities,
Mm-hmm.
think that Hollywood would be the place. Now you're saying that Hollywood's all going over there, etc. Do you think it would have been better if you would have just waited a couple years and stayed in Detroit?
No, because I've run into so many other things. I mean, California, Los Angeles, Southern California has so much to offer in many different ways. Musically, there's many different things to get into, and I've entertained myself that way. So, I'm fine. I thought about going back to Detroit to get some work, but that's become very difficult. You can't. It's hard to do for people I know that have gone there, and the union's a different union, different mentality there too. So I don't think I could go to my hometown and work. It used to be, if a film was going to Detroit, they could take me because there weren't qualified workers there. But now that the industry's kind of set up in Detroit, they're making you use all their people and stuff, which they should.
Mm-hmm.
But what they need to do, if they're going to keep doing that, is educate their people to how to behave and work in the film industry and get things done, rather than just hiring people that are inexperienced.
Very sure. Well, I think we pretty much covered it all. Just what keeps you going out here? I mean, what's that drive?
I think the creative energy of friends and everyone else, that people like yourself, that you're, getting your project done. I know other friends that are doing that, and I've developed a lot of skills. I can help them, and there's no greater energy than a group project moving forward. You can succeed on your own, and that can be fulfilling, but boy, when you make a play come off, and the actors are rehearsing their working, or a film, or anything, an art show for someone, and you're hanging at work, man, that energy is just great.
I think
The gardener's gonna cut us.
yeah.
See, if this was a film, we'd be calling the location guy to go give him some money, right? More money. Hey, knock it off!
I tried shutting them up, but money's an
Yeah,
issue.
they'd be probably telling you to go do it. Val,
Right. That's right.
So, I think we pretty much got it. Would you say that's the biggest rewards in this industry is seeing a completed project, or I mean, is that what you feel?
I think so, and even to the last, my most recent days on set, I still get a thrill out of walking on a set that's, for me, that's built right and looks good. I get excited by that, and I get excited when we do a stunt and it comes off great, and everyone did their part. The special effects guys had the charge go off at the right time. The stunt guy hit it the right way. The camera guys nailed it. Man, that's a real buzz. That's a real high, and that's what I love most about the industry, and that's what I've enjoyed doing. I've been part of a lot of big films. I've met my dream directors, my dream actors, and been part of some big stuff, and I've been able to be right there and say, perfect, and everyone looks at it was perfect, and it's like, that's a great energy.
All right, great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. Now you've been in this business, you said 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it how would you say breaking into the industry compares to from now to then?
I don't know how to do it now. It's especially with everybody out of work. Then there are many different ways. You get a producer signed in. It's hard for a producer to do that nowadays.
You gotta turn it off. We're filming.
Offer them some beer.
I can't use the machines too loud. We're filming right now. So next time, you don't have to do it. I'll do that part. What's that?
And don't you think there's like an
it's fine.
overabundance
Next
of
time you
gardeners
can
in this
figure it
town?
There is.
Just no noise. Turn it off.
Everywhere you go. This is this is the LA has the best looking gardens of any place in the world.
Goddamn motherfuckers. Alright, sorry guys.
Okay. Where were we? Oh, break into the business.
Yeah, I just don't know how you would do it today. 20 years ago, there was many, many ways in. I mean, including cheating and you know, payola probably was
Right.
going on too. All that's closed down. I don't know how they're doing it nowadays. I mean, the people I knew, the last of getting people, except to be on the union books in whatever trade it is you want to get into, and keep an eye on it, and just see if they ever run out of guys. Be the first in line. That's your only way, but they're not going to run out of guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you drive by these studios and look at how many trucks are parked in every big studio lot, and those trucks are mainly used for film production.
Right.
Film has left this town, and that's what's really killed it. TV, thank goodness, like I said, is strong and hanging on, but you got to be in a clique
Yeah.
to work in those businesses. Otherwise, forget it.
Do you think that viral videos are a new solution to that problem of breaking into the business? You think that people are trying to get famous just for being famous now?
Oh yeah, it seems like it's turned to the rewards are all about just being famous for fame's sake. There's no real reason to be famous or what for. Instead of saying, if you want fame, it would come from my working hard at a craft. So that's not about that. I just want fame.
Yeah.
I just want the lottery now, and that's people's motivation. So that creates a whole nother vibe of why people are making films, and that the art has kind of drained from film production. I think, commercial films and television. I mean, there's very little art in it anymore. It's like a factory. It's all about making a product, getting out there and selling it. The viral videos, you mean what?
Like,
Sorry.
just like the jackasses, or people just pushing somebody down in a shopping cart, just to that shock factor and putting it on TV. I
It's
mean,
kind of getting old. I mean, I guess like anything, the first impressionists were great, but everyone that copies them after it's kind of old.
well, now there's a new show that just came out. It's little jackass people, but they're taking it to the next level. They're midget wrestlers who will do the most outrageous stuff, make out with trainee hookers on Sunset Boulevard, and they're putting it on television now.
I think you're talking about what Hollywood has sold the world, and they're coming there for Hollywood, not for film production, art production, the art of acting, which transforms the actor and people. That's not what they're here for. They're here for what Hollywood's been selling, and it's overnight success and fame, so they can buy the big fast car. So yeah, a lot of those shows are.
They're putting away guys like you. There's no set design. There's no art.
No,
there's
it's
no,
not. But I've got very little to say or do about it. That's the way things are going. So
You think that's gonna be the demise of where you came from?
well, you would have to say after a certain point when the majority of people value slapstick, jackass humor versus, the acting or performance of like a Laurence Olivier, yeah, that's going to be a dinosaur. So that's going to take over as the new jackass stuff, sure. Unless people still fight to have quality films, quality performance, and they're out there, and